is Up for Grabs, a podcast where three unfiltered friends talk about anything and everything. And now, here are your hosts, Tracy, Kim, and Rachel.
Welcome to Up for Grabs. I'm Rachel. I'm here with my friend Kim.
Hello.
And Tracy.
Hello.
Today on Up for Grabs, we're going to talk about dating. I don't have a lot of dating experience, so this could be the shortest podcast in history.
I don't think any of us have a whole lot.
But I'm sure, even with the limited amount of dating we did, we all have to have some sort of story, whether it be good or bad. It's usually bad. But we decided to talk about dating, not just our history with dating, but really just how dating has evolved over the years. Now that our kids are young adults and out mostly in the dating world, how that age anyway.
Yeah.
How
how different
their
is.
experience is different, and some of it's the same. I mean, there's some overlap there. So I wanted to start off first by saying there is something so wonderful about a first date, or even just not even your first date, but just watching dating shows like The Dating Game or like Love Connection.
Love Connection.
I mean, just to, Love Connection, I was enthralled. These two people, they show you things and you think, because everyone thinks they're a matchmaker, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, guy number 2 is definitely who she should go out with. And then they go out and you hear this horrible story that guy number 2 turns out to be just a total loser.
Correct.
But there's that 1 second where you think that there's a little bit of hope. And I think that small bit of hope is what keeps everyone coming back.
It's the hope. It's the anticipation, the possibility.
Yeah.
Like all of it is maybe this is going to be awesome.
And one of those you don't know unless you do it. And so you feel like you should.
Okay.
I mean, like you don't want to say no to an opportunity and then it turn out to be like...
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But let's face it, most of those opportunities don't turn out to be super great. Some of those, I've probably honestly only been on like 3 or 4 real like dates. And I didn't like any of them except the one, and it was Rob, and we got married. So
good for Rob.
Well,
he really knocked it out of the park on that one date.
But yeah, no. So I would like to go through if you guys have any, just any dating stories, I don't want to say mishaps because that assumes that something horrible happened. Maybe you guys had really good experiences going out on first dates with people.
Dating has it's changed so much as far as there weren't any necessary rules. I think nowadays you've got to talk so much or communicate through text or communicate online somehow before you even go on a date. And then, then the date, you have to date so long before you're even termed exclusive. And I think I'm just going into high school. I didn't date in grade school. I mean, boyfriend, girlfriend. Maybe I met somebody for a bike ride or something. But in high school, first of all, I loved going on dates. I absolutely, not that I was a serial dater by any means. I dated Joe for like 6 years before we got married. So my dating was really in high school.
Right.
And I mean, how trivial is that? I mean, it was just so innocent. And I like the idea that somebody could just call you up and you could talk a couple times and then you could go on a date and then there wasn't anything you didn't have to label it.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of complications with it. You just did it. So my experience would be well,
when you said bicycle, that just made me laugh because like growing up, I was not allowed to date until I was 16. And so like if boys liked me prior to then, it was really painfully frightening to me because I was very afraid that my dad would know that the boy liked me, whatever. So there were different times where a boy would like me, and like when you said a bike, a boy showed up at the house on his bike, and I was in like 7th or 8th grade, I don't know, and I was like, "Get out! What are you doing
Even
here?"
if it was somebody that, like, my experience
Yes,
was,
no, get
our
out.
neighborhoods were connected, and we went to grade school
Well,
together.
yes, it was
so it was
a great.
complete innocence, like nothing.
Of course it was, but
Yeah.
that was still no. It was a big fat no. And I won't bring up the story about when I was younger and there was a boy that liked me and gave me a necklace, and that was a lot of drama getting rid of that necklace. I ended up throwing it off the roof of a building out a window to really make sure it was gone.
Why?
But
To make sure there's
I didn't
no
want my dad to
evidence?
know. Yeah, I had to get rid of the evidence. He got me a necklace that said Tracy.
Oh,
on
my
it.
dad was so, like, oblivious.
Really sweet.
Like, I am going to name drop on this because it's funny and I know that she listens, but my first bicycle date, when we just like met up and rode our bikes, and maybe we went to McDonald's and rode our bikes, was BJ O'Connor.
Oh, shout
So
out.
I just have to put it out there that those are the kind of memories, like things like that, that's like was your first time that, like,
You rode your bike to McDonald's?
well, there used to be a McDonald's, you know, where the new fish place is.
Yeah.
There used to be a McDonald's there. So you could get there through
yeah.
a side street and you could, but anyways, but he lived on the other side of Meridian and I lived on the other side. And I know, remember my mom followed me to Meridian when I was riding my bike to make sure I made it across.
Oh.
And, you know, we probably spoke 5 words to each other, but still, we, you know,
That's
rode our
very
bikes
cute.
and just had fun.
But see, and I love that. Those are the happy
Yes.
dating moments that I wish I had.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I didn't think of dating as something
Well, I didn't think
fun.
of that as a date. At
Well, no,
all,
that's a
but-
date. You were alone with a boy.
Okay. Yeah,
is
maybe.
true.
Because
yeah, true.
my whole thing was I didn't think that the idea sounded fun. I thought it was frightening to have to like carry a conversation
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
yourself.
I remember, being very, very nervous.
It was so. I think I just wasn't mature enough to even
How old,
want. I
Rachel?
did not
I
want to.
wasn't either. I
No,
was the
but I
biggest
didn't want to put
nerd ever.
myself in that position. I'm like, I've got nothing to. If it was a group, I'm fine.
Well, see, I always had something to say. So, yeah, I mean,
Groups
you
are
know me,
fine,
I
but all
talk
of a
way
sudden-
too much. So,
You get this, but you just get this one person. You're like, oh boy,
here we go.
what else could I talk about? So I don't know. I found it to
And
be
that really was my only
anxious.
grade school experience. And I think it's our parents knew each other and we knew, you know, like it was a very, it wasn't necessarily terribly awkward. I think
Yeah.
we were friends, you know, more friends.
I went on a
and-
date one time in high school with a boy from a different school. I was part of like a couple of leadership things where like I would meet people from other high schools around the city, whatever, I don't know. One boy took me to dinner. Swear to God, he said, "My compliments to the chef on the green beans." And I literally almost fell out of my chair. And
Where were you?
I
Gigi's?
don't.
Was he 80?
know. I know. I don't know where
Oh,
we were.
that
I
is
don't remember.
so- he
But
was trying to be
he
very
was trying to
mature.
be very mature. I could not get home fast enough to tell my sisters.
That is the
And
best.
I mean, and I totally made fun of him. I know it's not nice. I'm admitting it's not nice, but I was
The
like,
fact that he took you
who
to a
says
restaurant that had green beans, that's
I
a big deal.
Were you a
I
cattle
know.
company by any chance?
I don't know.
That was fancy
I
back in the
cannot
day.
remember for the life of me where we
Oh,
were. But he
that's-
said, "My
he had to have
compliments
heard
to the chef on the green beans."
He had to have heard his parents say
I was
that.
like, what?
I love that you were your immaturity because I would have peed my
I
pants
couldn't
laughing.
be cool about it or think he was suave, even though I know that's what he was trying to come across as. I couldn't have
that's
given him that
great.
bone. I had to be a big jerk and laugh.
Oh, that's
So-
great. Has either of you? I have not, and I think it's rare that that on a blind date, like a setup. I never have. I think I
I-
always indirectly knew the person.
I've been on one, and it's the one. Like I said, I've been on 4 dates. So one of my 4, I have to tell this. I don't
Yeah.
want to tell this story,
Do.
but it is so. It's just so me. It's so sad. So I was in college, so it wasn't like I was 13 or anything. But anyway, one of the things that we are going to touch on, and this is going to kick it off, is red flags that you see that maybe you just ignore and go right through. Well, this was a series of flags, just a whole host of them that I was just like, I was in too deep. And okay, so in college, I was at, this is how old I am. There was a computer lab because that's where they kept all the computers.
Yes.
And I was working on my resume. And so I was in the computer lab.
Yes.
And I was in there messing around, printing it a million times, making changes for this and that. Anyway, so there's a always like one nerdy tech guy in there working at the lab if anything goes wrong. And I can't remember if anything really went wrong. I don't know if like the printer malfunctioned or whatever, but I remember vaguely, thank God somebody was there because my resume messed up. 2 days later, I get a call at my apartment from a man I do not know saying, "Hi, you don't know me, but I saw you when I was working at the computer lab."
Hashtag stalker.
And since I had my resume, it had
your
my phone number on it.
Okay. Good for him.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
good for
first
him,
of all, the
actually.
phone rings. I actually get it, and I no screening. So I'm on the phone live with this person. So a couple things go through my mind. One, wow, I must have made a big impression on this guy. And then I thought, shoot, think. Was he cute? Are there any cute, nerdy guys that work in the computer lab? I don't recall thinking any of these people were cute. So anyway, he proceeds to say, "Hey, I wanted to call because, you just really reminded me of someone, and I just wanted to call and see if you wanted to go to lunch." And I thought, and he caught me off guard, and I was on the phone live, and I thought, the way he said it, I thought it kind of meant that maybe the person I reminded him of had like passed away or something. Seriously. And I thought, well, that would be so mean if I said no. So I just didn't know what to do. So of course you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I was like, sure. So we planned to meet someplace and we go to lunch in the Union like a couple days later. And the flag, okay. First of all, after I hang up, my roommates, they're like, "What are you doing? Some weird guy calls you that basically stole your phone number and you're going to go meet him?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you're right." But I didn't have his number to call him back. And I thought this person had died that I reminded him.
And it wasn't as big a deal back then as it is now.
No, and
we
you
know better now, but
you were going
we
in a
didn't
public
know.
place at lunch.
We were.
too, so
We're defending you on this.
I
Hold
am,
on.
because I feel like I would have done the same thing. But
I go. Surprise, he was super awkward. Weird. And we go to get lunch. We're in the Union, we're getting lunch, and I was like, I knew right away that this was a terrible mistake. And he starts talking, and I said, "Oh, well, you said, on the phone that I reminded you of someone. Who was that?" And he's like, "Oh," and I thought, well, I braced myself. Oh, this is going to be like when he tells me about, his very best girlfriend that died or something. And he's like, "Oh, well, I was really good friends with this girl at my high school. And when we went away to college, she went someplace else and she got a boyfriend, and her boyfriend told me that I'm not allowed to talk to her anymore." Kind of made it seem like the boyfriend kind of thought maybe he needed a restraining order against this guy. And I went, "Oh,"
That's
I
not
almost
something
said,
you share, really.
well, I almost said, "Oh, so she's not dead?"
yeah, that is
Well, then why am I here? And I was like, "Oh," so I get through the lunch. You guys know me. I don't think it's any secret. If I don't like you, you probably know it.
Probably so.
So
yes.
I don't think I was giving off any vibe that was
your body
encouraging
language
him at
probably
all.
was like,
We're to the point, and we're like, nice to meet you. Goodbye. He calls back like the next day.
Okay.
And you'll love this. "Hi, Rachel. I was calling to see, it's just a really beautiful day outside. Would you like to go fly a kite with me?"
Oh,
Wow.
look at me. I said, "Oh, go fly a kite."
I
with
mean,
him.
that's just that.
It was weird. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I going to? So my point is, I did what only I do, because I was going to ask you guys, what is a way that you let someone know, what, this really just isn't going to be a thing for me. So I did what I always would do, and classic avoidance.
Yep.
If the
me
phone
too.
rang, I would tell my roommates, "I'm not home. Do not, screen my calls."
Yeah.
So I would go silent.
You'd ghost them
And
as
underground.
the kids do
It
now.
is ghosting
It
now.
is
I was
ghosting
the
now.
first ghost, I think.
And I would have ghosted.
Casper.
I would have ghosted too. Boy, it was so much easier to ghost too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
So I ghosted as hard as I could, and God love him, he called back a few more times.
Instead of just saying,
I appreciate
I'm not
his
interested.
persistence.
I would not have been able to say that.
But because then I kind of thought, well, is he not all there? So end of story is this. End of semester, I'm at the library studying, and Purdue put out this like magazine, a fun like literary thing where people could submit stories and pictures and poems and things. He had a poem in that about a girl that shut him down.
Well,
So I don't know if it was about me or if it was about the other girl
could have
that.
been.
But I was so freaked out. I called my roommate. I'm like, I'm afraid he's like stalking. Like he knows my address. He has my resume, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So there were a few red flags that I let go,
Always.
all in the name of being polite, not wanting to seem mean.
Yeah, and I think that, and obviously nothing turned bad from that.
No.
And it probably was never going to, but it, not to take a dark turn, but gosh, you can see how people get roped into things or say yes to things that they know, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, are red flags that then
Yes.
they find themselves in very bad situations.
So I think based on that lunch, I never wanted to go on another date again.
Yeah, that would do it to you.
I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm just going to mind my
Stick with
business
people
over
you
here.
know.
Yeah. Never fallen for that. You remind me of somebody thing
Wow,
ever
yeah.
again. So that's my one time of going on a blind date. And I don't recommend it.
No, I haven't been on one.
Highly
of them.
recommend.
10 out of 10. But that's one thing that you were talking about, Kim. Like our kids now, as young adults, it's almost like they have, through social media and, dating apps, they have like the weeding out process before
filters.
any words are spoken, before any meeting is had. So, I mean, I know it doesn't always work out from there, but at least
They can, if they're smart, they can really fact check before they do go somewhere.
Yes.
They really can.
Yes.
Yeah. And try to figure out to the best of their ability. And if, like you said, this hasn't changed. Instead of just being upfront and honest, most of the time, and I'm not saying all kids do this, but early on in the relationship, especially, if it's not working out, or you're just not interested, or you just get ghosted.
Because it's so hard to tell someone
Because
I
it
don't
is.
like
and
you.
it's I don't look at it necessarily as horrible all the time, because I can completely understand why somebody
Yes.
would do,
Yeah, if one of my kids was ghosted, I'd be like, that
I know.
a-hole, why couldn't they just tell you whatever? That being said, it's so awkward telling someone I
It
don't
is.
like you. So it looks like there's another date because you can't
right.
say it,
I mean, I didn't want there to be any confusion.
right?
However, I didn't want to have to say anything. I thought by not fielding calls, that should have been clue enough.
I think in most of the time
Back in the 90s,
is.
wasn't that the way you told
That
someone?
most of the
I think
time it
so.
is, but there
He-
are
he was special.
the
He didn't
occasional
know.
people that's not enough.
It wasn't for him. Does anyone else have a fun dating story they'd like to share?
No.
Come on, Tracy, you are
I was going to say
you're such a liar.
No, I had an uncanny ability of, for the most part, liking people that were never going to like me back. And those who did like me, I did not give them the time of day. So I was really, really good at not doing very well at all of that.
I relate to that because it's fun to like someone from afar.
Yeah. It's easier, or
like a fun 80s
it's less
movie.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a boy who's 2 years older than you when you're a freshman.
yeah.
Okay, that's easy.
Captain of the basketball team. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just in case, but it's never going to work out, but whatever. Although I did, the guy who was a junior, no, I didn't go out with him, but freshman, junior, liked him, freshman, sophomore year, whatever. He had a girlfriend who was literally 23 with an apartment.
Oh my God.
wow.
Went in high school. Hilarious, by the way. Yes. Anyway, did run into him in my early 20s in a bar, and I was not interested at that point. But anyway, there's that.
Does that only happen on the West Side? Somebody in high school dating a 23-year-old woman?
That happens
I
everywhere.
think it happens everywhere, but maybe it happens more on the West
Okay.
Side.
I don't know. That
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so I don't have that many stories either. I really don't. Or ones that I would tell if I did. So
Oh my God.
That is why yeah. Mine more uneventful. Maybe I just didn't attract crazy, and that's good. Like I didn't date anybody ever that went psycho or I wasn't I did the liking people that I knew that weren't going to like me.
right.
I did have one incident, and this really doesn't count as a date, but he was in my class. I had a crush on him, and they have those stupid roundabout dances. What do they call them? Turnabouts or what, roundabout. Oh my God.
It's in Carmel.
It's a cool lady in Carmel. My God, roundabout.
It's a roundabout.
Oh, I'm old.
Do-si-do.
What do they call them something else?
Sadie Hawkins.
Sadie
Sadie
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
And I vividly remember being in algebra class, and he sat in front of me, and I asked, I'm not going to say his name, but I said, I have a question, and I asked him to the dance, and he looked me straight in the face. Talk about not avoidance. No. So that really stunted me for a while, and I'm still angry about it. I'm not gonna lie, it still hurts my heart a little bit.
Well, and that's just it. Boys
doesn't go away.
Boys don't have a problem doing that.
No, and
I think they do.
And I
think they do,
Not
and we
in high
didn't know
school.
it. I think they do, and we didn't know it, that they had a problem.
Maybe because
went back at it,
girls
but-
will end up, and I've seen this happen through my kids' experiences and their friends' experiences. There's always somebody that, like a boy, that asks a girl to prom, and they say yes, and then they have to like have their friends explain to the boy that they can't go. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like I would have said yes, and I would have gone whether I wanted to or not. But
Right.
he had no problem looking, and we were friends too.
Not anymore.
He had. Oh no, we weren't after that. So yeah, it was bad.
Well, I kind of forgot. We only did those like turnabout dances when I was like in 7th and 8th grade.
Oh,
and they
really?
had to
Boy,
explain.
that's young to do that.
Well, because at my high school, I mean, they just had the prom and homecoming. They didn't have other dances.
We had what we called, and they don't do this at Ron College near as much anymore, just because of just the hassle of it all. We had like monthly like CYO dances, where all the parochial like high schools would get together at a certain location, and there'd be a DJ. We had dances a lot.
And that was when you were in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Or dances after basketball games, or dances
Yeah, they
after
don't do
football
that
games.
anymore.
After basketball games,
Yes.
you'd pay like $2
Yep.
or whatever to get in,
And have
it was in the
DJs
gym
and
for an
stuff,
hour or whatever.
and take it. It was, I mean, not as big as school. You went to, your high school was pretty big, wasn't it?
It was huge, yeah.
Huge. I mean, we had, my God, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I
100
think that
and something in each
that
class.
kind of brings up another thing of kind of how things have changed a little bit dating. Before we decided to record, I asked my 82-year-old mom what dating, what it was like back in her day. And
Yeah.
it's funny that you say the CYO dances because they had a similar thing. She said, I think they used to be called like something like the Notre Dame Club or something, hosted dances.
well, I know they had them when my mom was that
And it was,
age.
and I'm pretty sure it just was kind of like a all Catholic kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But she said they had them all the time, and they treated them, they were like formal, like they
Yeah.
got really dressed up. They'd have corsages, and you
Aw.
would go and. But she said, back in her day, as a lady, you only went to the dances if you had a date. Like now, it's very common and sometimes preferred that some girls and boys just go in a group
Yeah.
of friends and just
Yes.
go
Yeah.
without dates.
For sure.
And she's like, back in my day, that didn't
It was a little more formal.
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't show up unless you had a date.
Yeah.
But she said, and that was a fun way for her to meet people from other sides of town. Like you were saying, I'm impressed back in our day that you met somebody from another side of town. Without social media, it's hard to meet
That really
somebody.
was
Yes.
the only way, was through dances.
Yeah.
So you did that thing through whatever.
Several. I was
Being
in
a leader.
several different. Yeah, being a leader, whatnot. Where, but like there'd be like one kid from every high school. So I thought I knew so many people because I knew like
Yeah.
one person at every high school.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
But that's a lot
It is a lot.
that is, I mean, yeah.
for our day. But now I just feel like it's easy for kids, and maybe
are.
they don't really know them.
but they
a
know
lot
of
they
them,
know
and they
of
know
them.
and
Yeah,
they
but
can.
you're right. I mean, I remember my freshman year, we had freshman orientation, so I feel like you got to at least know a little one night of feeling like you got
Right.
to mingle, but really you just knew your grade school friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
So yeah, kids today, they have I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse that they have access to anyone. You know what I mean?
Right. You could look up who is this person that may be calling me on Friday.
Yeah.
You know right away before you even meet them in person, what they look like, what their activities are, all that. So,
And you can determine whether they're lying. Because Kim mentioned, I'm sure like Tinder profiles or whatever, people make things up anyway.
Yeah.
But so cat's out of the bag.
I need to interrupt you because we're going to talk red flags. And I think I've told you about this group on Facebook.
Oh, yes. And I saw an article about it the other day.
Okay.
I think that one of the news stations
is picking it up.
Yes, picked it up.
So it's called "Are We Dating the Same Guy?" And then and then it's followed by whatever city. So like the group that I'm speaking of is like, "Are we dating the same guy?" Indianapolis, Cleveland. I don't know, but like has 2 or 3 cities. Anyway,
It's on Facebook.
it's on Facebook and it's mainly dating websites, like they'll show a picture of a guy's profile and say, he says he's not dating other people, but blah, blah, blah. Any red flags? And then there'll be 67 messages of people going, he has a wife and 2 kids. And then it'll go on more and they'll say, like all of this dirt is dug up. And then all of a sudden it'll be, well, someone in this group sent him screenshots. He's sending me threatening messages. I'd be like, it is the most drama-filled, delightful, time-consuming thing to look at.
Sounds like Jerry Springer.
It is Jerry Springer, only it's people we know, which I was a big fan of. So it is so rare for there to be one where a girl posts a photo and there's not at least 2 people that have something horrible to say.
I'm not trying to be judgy here,
right?
Because you're looking at it from the outside. If you have to post a picture of someone that you're potentially dating, that your intuition's already saying, do you think that they're doing it just to be safer, or you think they're doing it because their intuition's telling them,
I think
this
it's a
guy
combo.
might be trouble?
I think it's a combo. I think on the one hand, yeah, if you have to post it, then maybe he's not the one.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, maybe they've been burnt so many times that they don't trust their own intuition anymore.
Okay.
So they might really think he's wonderful, but on the off chance they're wrong, wouldn't they want to know?
Yeah. It's so bizarre to me. Not bizarre. I mean, it's just so, thank God. I don't that was just not a worry.
Yeah.
Back when we did, like now there's and people can be frauds and predators and just all the stuff you have to get through the web and hope that your date, that's, yeah.
And like they'll post a picture that's, like one of his profile pictures or whatever. And, there'll always be someone who'll be like, the red flag is his Leonard Skinner t-shirt that he cut the arms off of and posted that as his best photo, And so that, and then people laugh at that. I mean, there are some very funny women in Indianapolis. And supposedly the men have made their own page too. But the difference is guys don't care if she's sleeping with 3 other guys or whatever, because they'll say, well, I'm dating him too, but it's not exclusive. And so then there's a little back and forth on that, but I just don't think it's the same issues that come up. But anyway, I asked my kids a few red flags.
Okay.
I was, you said to come up with a list.
Yes.
And like I said, I wasn't very good at it. And I didn't follow red flags myself. I'm not good at that. So I asked my kids, and here are some they said. Put political status in their bio.
Oh, my kids have talked about that. That is
for some, that's a huge, I'm out.
And at least
At least you're not wasting your time.
Yeah.
No, I think that would be positive, just because you could know to just keep going.
Yes, it's a positive in that you
but
know
if you
to move
see
along.
And it's not what you believe, then
Move the dog little
on.
longy.
Yes. Move along. Yep.
Oh, and quote, if the status says here for a good time, not a long time. That was a very specific thing that one of my kids put, which must be things that a guy puts often. And that must be a signal that he's not looking for anything other than a hookup.
That's more than a signal.
And I think that
it's a flat out thing. And apparently it's done on the regular. So.
I thought that was I've heard some stories from my kids with their friends or friends of friends, and sometimes they'll just, let's say you match on Tinder And then the guy or the girl, because girls are just as well, DTF, you know.
Yes.
You're like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a hookup. I mean,
Yes.
blunt.
And some
you can
people
do it
are
behind
good
the
with that,
screen,
and others
so-
are like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Super slow replies,
oh, yeah.
Red flag.
which, yeah.
But isn't it where you don't want to seem like I've heard the opposite end, like don't reply right away. Don't reply right
Seems
away.
too eager. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's some sort of system that we don't know, but they know what's the appropriate amount of time.
Okay.
Well, it's the same thing when we were like, guys would be like, how soon is too soon to call? Like if you meet
Yes.
some guy at a bar
Yes.
and you give their phone number and then like, well, he didn't call in a day,
Yeah.
but he didn't want to seem too eager. So he was going to give it 2 or 3 days.
No, but the next day you do star 6-7 and call to make sure it actually goes to his phone.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if
What?
you don't call,
What's
you call
star 67.
It blocks your
it
number
blocks
from
your
caller
number
ID.
as the caller.
That still works to this day.
Did
by the
you
way.
never prank people? What?
It's still a
You
thing.
don't know star 6-7?
I don't remember it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That blocks out your number.
Okay.
Not that I pranked people, but others did.
Wow.
I don't know what the statute of limitations
I
is.
may have
so I'm
done
gonna
that.
Say it wasn't me. Bad hygiene, unfortunately. Is
Well,
a
yeah.
red flag just in general. Rude to service workers.
Oh,
That made my list.
that's a red flag. Yes, that's
And in the day of Karens, I don't know. I feel like we're really seeing, if you're on TikTok, you really see that every day. People act a fool in public. So I think dating, you would see a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
This is a little bit, what am I trying to say? Specific.
Okay.
Won't let you pick a song in the car or belittles your music taste.
Well, music is
Okay.
important.
And when
It
you're
is.
courting someone, as I'm talking as an 80-year-old, when you're courting someone, you want to
Froggy went a courting. I'm sorry.
yes, you want to be like, oh, listen to whatever you want, or like, I
Yeah.
love so and so. Do you want? Oh, that would be a really big turnoff to me.
Well, and I just take it a step further. I think one of the times that I realized that I was in love with Rob was when we made mixed tapes for each other.
Joe and I did too.
And I think the mixed tape tells everything you need to know about someone.
Amen.
And if they don't even want to listen to your mixtape,
Yeah.
if they're not open to it, then they're not the one.
You're not wrong. And today it's a playlist, which
No,
is also
absolutely
not
as
as
good.
Yeah, the Spotify
Okay.
thing. But
Can you just be happy with it? Do you
No,
have
because
to
there was a
say-
lot of work involved with the tape to the
Oh,
CD
okay.
and
Yes.
timing.
I don't disagree, but you're kind of sounding like an old.
Well, anyone
fogey.
can make a
they
playlist.
still do it.
Yeah, that's old.
But it's still endearing
Whatever.
because kids that date still do that.
It's still
in
a
their own
nice
way.
thing to show
It-
that you
it really
paid
is.
attention and wanted to share of yourself.
Yes.
Yes. And it is a good way to know if you're going to be able to stand to be in a car
you're
with
gonna be
someone
compatible.
for a long trip.
100%.
Yes. Doesn't want to meet your family.
Oh, yeah.
That's
that would-
obvious. I think
Yeah.
that goes without saying. Won't hang out with your friends, but expects you to hang out with theirs.
Selfish.
Okay. Let me see what else we have here. You guys can jump in.
Okay, I was going to say one of the red flags that I put down was, and this is, I think I'm speaking specifically of like first dates. If the person drinks too much.
Oh, yeah. I've had that. Yeah.
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 And you're nervous, and sometimes people think it's best when they're nervous to solve their nervousness with a few
Right.
drinks. Maybe 1 or 2 might be a good thing to
Oh, there's
do.
nothing worse
but
than like
boy,
a sloppy
But did
drunk
you
Yeah.
never early on accidentally drink too much?
And that can
Yes.
can
And
happen.
And then you have to like
I have.
excuse it away 1,000 times and
Yeah.
prove yourself, which is horrible.
Yeah.
But that does happen. So
No.
it can't
It
be
does
like,
happen.
It can't be like a total, but I think you know the difference between someone who accidentally
Yeah.
is overserved versus someone who's a habitual.
problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that, but well, here's one that I think, I guess it could go for dating and it could go for friendships or whatever, but I think I always throw the red flag if someone overshares too quickly.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
like you're,
screwed. I'm really screwed because
Well-
I'm an oversharer.
well, you obviously didn't when we first became friends because you didn't scare me away. Now you can overshare all you want, but I'm saying like the first date, if someone just takes it, they could say it one way, but they take it and they fill in a lot of really
Yeah.
deep information that maybe is more like
Okay.
a 4th or 5th date story.
And I don't know how much you're
Yeah.
going to get of that when you're like
Okay.
a teenager, but definitely dating in your 20s and 30s. Like, you don't want to talk on your first date about the bad breakup or the,
Your baggage.
your baggage. You just
Okay.
don't want to.
That's true. I want to say in my own defense, I do overshare, but not anything that really matters.
Yeah, no, I was going to say.
nothing anyone wants
I'm
to
an
hear.
overshare.
Overshare all the other nonsense.
Yeah, I'm an oversharer as well with nonsense.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I just, maybe it's because I try to be funny or like try to, I don't know.
Right.
Just.
But I think the opposite is also true. Undersharing, like if you are on a date with someone and you have to pull teeth to
Yeah.
get them, like they'll only answer with one yes or no.
Right.
There's nothing worse. And then they don't even ask any questions because
Yeah.
And you're just carrying the whole conversation.
it's awful.
Okay.
Okay.
This is a kind of a split thing, but hates dogs or doesn't like animals. For my kids, that's an absolutely no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been back when I was even in my 20s. Now that we have a dog, that like my whole 100%.
Your whole life.
My whole
is
life.
What you were going to say.
My whole life. It would really make or break.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, Rob wasn't a dog person when I first met him.
Rob wasn't a dog person until like 6 years ago or
I
something.
was going to say,
don't
Joe
even
and
know.
I both really weren't dog people until we just broke down and
bought a
got one.
dog.
And now,
And you can't imagine your life without them.
we're
Right.
both crazy dog people.
And now he is. So it wasn't that he did get bit. He didn't like dogs, but all the dogs that he was around with me weren't aggressive
just
and
different.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I tricked him into liking dogs, and now he really does. So I don't know if that. I guess only that would be a red flag to me. Only if they were unwavering and unwilling to try.
A red flag to me, especially dating in the world now, or that I would tell my kids when you're getting to know each other, is it's all about them. Well, this is where I went to college, and this is where I did my internship, and this is where, and not saying, tell me about yourself, tell me about your family. Like, if you really want to impress somebody, you
Ask about
want
them.
to know about themselves, their siblings, their parents. They're like, you want to know that stuff instead of making it all about your successes and how great you are. So,
Yes. No, that was one of my
and
red
I think
flags
that
too.
goes both ways. Men or women can be, lean that way big time.
I had that on my list as well. I think
That's a turn off
being-
to me is friendships.
right, like just being curious
Yes.
and wanting and listening.
Yes.
Yes, that's
I'm
important.
sorry, I wasn't paying attention. What did you say?
The only you're the worst friend ever.
I know.
The only other red flag I had on my list that you did not cover was lack of eye contact, because I find that to be really creepy. Like if you're trying to have a conversation with someone, but they're scanning the room. I don't know.
Okay,
to
but
me, it's like
also-
to look if there's someone more interesting to talk to. I don't know.
But also too much eye contact. Don't stare at me. Don't eyeball me.
Don't be a close
Don't eyeball
talker.
me. Yes. Close talking, also no. Like both of it, no.
So-
Back off.
So not creepy stalkers staring, but
Yep.
not zero eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and along with that, this is more this generation versus our generation. When you're on a first date with somebody, or even your first 2, 3, 4 dates, they better not be on their phone.
Get off your damn phone.
Yeah, it better be like a no phone zone. That would be the biggest. Oh God, that would be.
See,
I
I don't
big
even
red.
know how
that would be a red.
I don't think that can be a thing now, though. I mean,
Why?
I don't know, because they are so integrated into our lives. Like if someone, I'm not dating, but if someone said, like, you need to put your phone away, my kids, this is my lifeline to my children.
Keep
I
it
don't-
there, but don't be on it.
Well, and I agree, keep it there, but don't be on it. But if someone said like, "Oh, let's lock these in this box
No,
for 2 hours,"
I'm not-
I mean, people do that,
I
at dinner
know.
parties and stuff. No, thank you. I'm out.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not
No,
doing it.
I'm just use common courtesy.
Yes, I'm all
Oh,
for
hold
common
on a minute.
courtesy,
I got to text my friend back.
Time
Or,
out.
hold
But
on
do
a
you
minute.
think I'm putting my phone away
Yeah.
for 2 hours?
No, I think it's
and not
fine.
have access. You're wrong.
Kim just doesn't want you doing the Wordle during the
Yeah,
date. Hey, did you do
please.
the Wordle today?
Please don't. I got to check my sports bets. I mean,
Yeah.
like, no.
Yes, I
Don't,
agree
don't
with
be
that.
doing that. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
There's
what are you going to
again,
do when you have
common sense in
when you
there.
text your friend the safe word when they need to call you and say there's an emergency so you can leave the date? I mean, you do need the phone just in case.
Just in case.
Yes.
Just in case.
Well, the dating landscape certainly has changed, but I don't think my attitudes have.
No.
So the good news is that I'm not dating because it would make me anxious anyway, and I have nothing to say, and they would be doing things and they would be doing it wrong, and I'd have
Right.
to be throwing red flags.
Yeah.
Let's face it, no one would be good enough.
is there anything that we didn't say as far as like dating advice for our children that we want to throw out there?
The one piece of advice I would give my kids, well, first of all, I should say, if my kids have ever been on a date, I would never know, because they know not to tell me, because I would ask questions and it's none of my business. And they just know the less I know, the better.
Yeah.
And they have, surprise, never come to me for dating advice.
Okay.
And I'm
That's
sure they
nice.
will not be listening to this podcast. So if any of you see my kids, please let them know that I would tell them, be open to the possibilities.
Amen. You took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, I'm glad I said something good. No,
Yay.
but really, when I finally did want to date and open myself up to the possibilities is when I met Rob and everything. Like, if I would have met him, I don't know, a year earlier, I was closed for business. I wouldn't have given him the time of day because I wasn't open to the possibility.
Do you ask your kids though? You said like they wouldn't tell you. Do you point blank ask, or are you just waiting for them to come to you with this information?
I don't point blank ask. I have asked very leading questions in that they obviously know. I want to know if they're dating someone.
Yeah, that's kind of how I mean,
and usually they just say no.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll say, like,
And I don't really care. I mean, I would like to think that they could tell me. I mean, I don't know what they think I'm going to do. I mean, I'm not going to go
Exactly.
like show up at the person's house or something.
It's so funny you say you don't care, because I don't care in the sense that whether or not they have like, I don't care. Like, it's not important to me that they have another
No.
person. I care that I want to know what's going on in their lives.
me-
like I want to care. Like, I ask questions and they can get aggravated with me, but I continue to ask.
I just want to know if they're happy.
Yeah. I ask regularly, like every Sunday after a weekend, I'm like, so meet anybody? Do you think I
Wow.
would tell you if I did? No. Okay.
It's worth a shot.
I'm just throwing it out there just in case. Or like if one of them, goes out with someone and, I'll just say name Tracy, because that's, my name. And I'll say, oh, so how was meeting, what'd you say, Tracy Brown? And they're like, I'm not telling you the last name.
Because you'll look him up on Facebook.
Yeah. And I was like, what? I never even thought of that. But I tried to trick them into telling me things that they're not telling me. Or, I can feel them pulling away. They're 22 and 23, and I can feel them,
Let 'em go.
telling me less, or, limiting my information a little bit.
But according to the red flags, I think they're all on the right track.
They are on the right track, and I'm just nosy. So whatever.
Yeah, my kids don't want me to know anything, and I get that, I guess. But I promise I wouldn't do anything crazy if I had the information.
I pry as much as I can, and or just one of my kids specifically with being in the dating game and online, like, be open to the possibility.
Yeah.
Don't have this checklist that you feel like has to be marked off perfectly. I'm telling you,
It doesn't happen that way.
people are surprise you, and that
Yes.
kind
Yeah,
of stuff. So
they may not have every single attribute that is on your must-have.
Nobody does.
and you can't go by a dating profile. You just
No,
can't.
no.
You got to get to know
That might
them.
be a foot in the door, but you have to know that everyone's probably putting fake information on there to make themselves look better. So,
Yep.
Just like I did on my resume, and look what that got me.
And
It
look
got
what
me a
that
creepy
got you.
lunch.
you should have lied.
Thanks so much for joining us today on Up for Grabs. I hope that you enjoyed our trip down memory lane on our sparse dating. I don't know. It doesn't sound.
Why did we think this would be a good topic?
I don't know, but
why don't we talk about weight loss plans next?
Okay. Well, we had really good ideas for people that
I
didn't
think we had
date.
great advice.
Yeah.
And we just, all of us, we just were not, unless we're just not sharing the deep, dark secrets, Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy, why don't you just
I
tell
don't know
us?
why you guys are looking at me. You know nothing. Everybody's going to think you know something, and you know
No,
nothing. You better
no.
tell the truth.
Okay.
Say it.
She's not a hooer. I thought that's what you wanted me to say.
No,
Oh,
why
I'm
am I
sorry.
the butt of your jokes?
No, obviously none of us were, or we would
No.
have had just an illicit.
we would have had better
we would
stories.
have better stories.
Sorry.
So.
Well, if you have a better story, please let us know about your worst date or your best date, and any red flags that you might have just not even decided to see.
Yeah.
Give us a like, subscribe, tell a friend, and come back and join us next time on Up for Grabs.